Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Leveled Loot podcast. This is, I believe, episode 3 or 4 of the officially titled Leveled Loot by Temple of Geek podcast, our monthly show where we talk about video games. I'm your host, Myles and once again joined by Kurosh and Danreb. Hello, guys.
What's up?
And today we are talking more about mine and Kurosh's hands-on with the Nintendo Switch 2 from the Nintendo Switch 2 experience in Los Angeles.
I don't have
And
one of those.
we're we are here today to answer any question Danreb might have. This episode is titled "Giving Danreb Nintendo Switch 2 FOMO," which I fully intend to
I
do.
am going to be the unofficial host because I'll be asking.
Yeah, so basically, if you haven't already seen, we have a bunch of content on Temple Geeks YouTube and TikTok soon, where Kurosh and I break down our experience and our thoughts where we got hands on with the console and tons of new games. Unfortunately, Danreb had to work. He is working an event for Gamers for Giving. Danreb, do you want to break down what you've been up to this weekend?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know my background, I am the community coordinator for Gamers Outreach, and we ran our biggest event of the year this weekend in Ypsilanti, Michigan, called Gamers for Giving. We had it at the George Gervin Game Above Center, which is a collegiate basketball court, and basically it's like one of the biggest LAN parties in the United States. It takes place from Friday through Sunday, Sunday being today. I don't know when this posts, so apologies there. And yeah, we are basically if I could like make it in a short way, you guys know those PBS like telecasts where they try to get as many donations as possible.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, except like everybody in the facility is either a gamer or a streamer or anything in between. So we
Okay,
try to
cool.
get as many donations as possible. And this year we actually surpassed the target that we had this year. Once again, for the, I believe, third consecutive year, have like broken the record for donations. I think the
Wow.
last time we checked, we were at around $1.5 million dollars as far as donations. And all of these support Gamers Outreach's overall mission of bringing video games to children in hospitals. So this is a cause that like I am very much proud of. Those of
Should
you
be.
that know me know that I was laid off at EA and spent 6 months unemployed, and I was lucky enough to be picked up by Gamers Outreach, and yeah, it's been a wonderful nonprofit organization. And like, just to give you a little bit of inside baseball, like, we'll probably talk about it in a little bit, but like, all of us were taking part in this WonderCon panel, which was like definitely some bucket list stuff for us. And it was really interesting being on the other side, like being on the side that plans the lanyards, people that sell the tickets, people that plans all of the logistics going into the venue and the ins and outs and whatnot. So I now
Mhm.
can say that I have that experience. And like, when we do it next year, and hopefully I'm involved next year, God forbid something happen, that I'll be an experienced person that will know my way through. So yeah, those of
Awesome.
you that want to support Gamers Outreach can go on gamersoutreach.org. I'll probably talk about it more in the end, and that's about it.
Cool.
Awesome. That's a extremely noble cause. Congratulations on breaking $1 million. That's insane.
Absolutely, yeah. We
Awesome.
broke 1.2 million last year, and yeah,
Yep.
like I said, 1.5 this
Sweet.
year. It's amazing, especially in this economy. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, we are here to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 and mine and Crocio's hands-on experience. Danreb, fire away, man. What do you want to know? Thoughts? So to preface this, our first initial impressions dropped today, Saturday, April 13th, on YouTube, where me and Grosh kind of just talk about what we saw overall. Dinner. If you haven't watched that yet on purpose, so you can get our impressions here. So
yes,
if you've seen that and are now watching and or listening to this, some of it's probably going to be a rehash, but we're, we're we're here for fun because I want to make Danner jealous. So ask away.
This guy's a
yeah.
menace.
I mean, just to go ahead and break the ice real quick. Obviously, I was there for the live stream once they announced like a lot of the big games coming out during launch and whatnot. Now that we're a few months away, of course, including the fact that you guys have actually tested it out now. Can
Hands
you
on.
guys tell me about like your impressions now. Are you guys still day one people, knowing how much it costs, assuming it stays there, or if it raises a
Hmm.
little bit based on the information you know?
Kurosh, why don't you start there?
Yeah, for me, given the experience we had and my current thoughts on it, I was planning to get some sort of console this year, whether it be a Switch 2 or whether it be an upgrade on the PS5 Pro or something. I was leaning less away from that. There wasn't enough real justification for me there. A Switch 2 obviously being the big contender, and knowing now after the direct how many games are exclusive to the Switch 2, Donkey Kong, Mario Kart, and several others going forward, that was the direction I was kind of aiming and I was putting money aside for anyway. So right now it's a matter of just how much I'm putting aside, unless it's an exorbitant amount like Delta higher. That hasn't deferred me yet from the price change, or the world culture and the economy hasn't deferred me from that. The experience we had has actually encouraged me even more. I'm like, I want a pre-order ASAP. I want to lock it in. I want to get it going. I want to get my hands on this full time, because the all the games that we played, I'm like, I want to experience this version here. I'm going to say something that maybe sound like a little blasphemy. Yeah, but Doug Bowser's happy with me right now. So I have not beaten Tears of the Kingdom. I put very little time into it, and now I'm kind of at a point where I want to just wait until the Switch 2 experience comes out, and you guys can hate, you can be shocked. You guys
I'm
can
just okay. Look, I get it, because in that like month span in 2023, it was Zelda, Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter 6, Resident Evil 4, Diablo 4. Like I'm sure, like I get it, but I'm still shocked.
Yeah, no, I remember last time I with Breath of the Wild, I was like, I'm finishing Horizon just so I can spend all the time with Breath of the Wild, and I did. With
Mm.
Tears of the Kingdom, I just kept kind of putting it off, and I was like, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. I never got to it, and now I'm at a point where I'm like, if they're doing like the Switch 2 enhanced experience, I just want to experience that as like, hey, that's my launch Switch 2 game right there.
Danreb cannot
Oh,
cope with this right
out
now.
of the three of us, Kurosh, you're the one that likes anime the most.
Yeah,
And I don't know how many reviews or like post mortems you've heard, but Tears of the Kingdom has the most like Ghibli style,
Yeah.
epicness out
I'm
of like
excited. I get it. I get to experience it now on the Switch too. So
yeah,
I've just play. I'm
but
playing chess while you guys are
I
playing
mean a
checkers.
side buzz, but geez, like
But
I
Miles,
know
what
you
about
want
you?
to be the
Are
capitalist, but so far I'm just mad at Kurosh.
Miles, what about you? How do you feel about wanting to day one purchase?
With everything that you know.
Okay. Sorry, we had to splice in a little break there for some technical difficulties. But yeah, so it's now on me. Am I still buying the Switch 2 day and date, June 6th, after my experience with Switch 2? The answer is yes. The financial aspect and like the world economy aspect is still something that I'm heavily going to take into account. But based on what we played, both from a hardware and software perspective, and just the fact that I'm like a diehard Nintendo fan, yes, I got the Switch One midnight launch, so and it's been with me every day since it's been out. Yeah, it's a special console to me. This is the first one I've ever previewed, so it's even more special to me that way. But just from like a just the Mario Kart Tour will or World, we'll talk about it. But it is a very very good launch title. I would be a fool to miss out on that day and date. Yes, this is absolutely still a day one buy for me. Yeah.
Awesome.
What
Yeah,
else
I'm
do you
happy
want
to hear that.
to know?
Just to quickly give my thoughts, at the end of the presentation, I said that I didn't really have a review for the entire presentation because I needed to wait until the prices.
Hmm.
The prices came, and while they're definitely a little higher than what I thought, you know, prior to knowing anything else, I do think that the Switch is more powerful than any of us thought, and that to
Yeah.
me
Yes,
makes it
we
worth
will
the
talk
$400.
about that too. Yeah.
It makes it worth the 500 that I mentioned comes later. If it
Yep.
changes, we'll see.
Mhm.
But anyway, so let's go ahead and dive in to the event that you went to.
Mhm.
Um, this is probably going to be it's mostly for Miles here, but
Sure.
Kurosh can definitely jump in. You and I went to Summer Game Fest alone, covering different things. There was rarely a time where we ever like actually found
Mhm.
ourselves in the same area. I'm wondering if you and Kurosh sort of like did the same thing, or whether you had interest that sort of conflicted as you guys decided to cover certain things.
Yeah, we were together the entire time. There was a couple of times where he broke off while I was playing a game to get like B-roll sweeps. This is not nearly the like scope and size of SGF play days. It was like one kind of like warehouse room. It wasn't even like that big, and it was media sprinkled in with like members of the public as well. There was a bunch of kids and stuff. So um,
Real
yeah,
quick, were these the lottery winners or?
yes, it was the lottery winners and then media who got invited, plus a
Got it.
couple of special guests
Cool.
and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, not as I mean, it's still exclusive ish because we got invited, but it was open to the public if they got lucky. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, for me, the big thing I gotta say that we didn't split up too much was because I felt very, again, like similar to Miles. This was a kind of a surreal experience for me. Always seeing others cover these sorts of events, being on the outside, wanting to one day get to a point like I can do
yeah,
something of
yeah,
this caliber, and then getting a chance now. It was both like I wanted to fan out and enjoy it, but also I was like, I want to make sure I'm pulling my weight. So I really emphasized getting any and all kinds of footage. I was doing Miles's famous meme, but with cameras. I had like my digital camera in one hand, I had my video recorder in the other hand, and just getting like I got 100 gigs of like plus footage. So that was my main goal. But then getting a chance to actually like we had such an amount of time to spend there. I think a little over 3 hours fully to just like take it all
That's
in, and it
good.
wasn't,
yeah,
yeah, like Miles said, it wasn't like a massive space, but there was enough to do where once you hit everything, you could go back and be like, oh, I want to spend some more time with this. I want to spend some more time with that. I want to take a look at this, but from this perspective. And, doing all the footage on the first go around, it was like, okay, we can kind of go a little bit easier on the second round and
yeah.
enjoy it. And it was, yeah, that part was great. So,
Okay.
when
All right.
when we were
Makes
about to
sense.
leave, I think there was probably like another half hour left, and we are like, we've seen everything multiple times. We got all the footage. I was like, do you want to stay? But we had to go out in the parking lot and record our
yeah.
impressions. So we're like, look,
Nice.
it's still daylight outside. It's like 6 ish. So we were like, let's go. But yeah, it was. I definitely got my time's worth. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, had I been there, I would have just done whatever Miles said. So I totally enunciate what you mean.
Have fun
Anyway,
is what I'd say.
diving in, tell me
Yes.
about the first games each of you played. We'll go ahead and start with Miles since he's pretty much the boss here. So,
Yeah, so we walk into the experience itself, and it's like just like a kind of showcase of the hardware. Screens did not work, and then there was a line to get into like the main like expo hall, I guess. But that line, you're actually in line to break off and play Mario Kart World. So they asked if we were in a group. Oh, sorry. They asked if we were in a group, and we got to play together. And so it started out docked on the big screen, and we were playing the Grand Prix mode, which is just kind of what you expect from any Mario Kart title. And then they had us playing handheld, and then after that, we moved to like a different roped off area to play Knockout Tour, which is basically Mario Kart Battle Royale. Um, and then after that, once we were done with Mario Kart, then it was just like free reign open. There were stations for Donkey Kong, Metroid, Zelda, Welcome Tour, GameCube. It was just like, but there was like 12 stations for each. So
okay.
Yeah.
you just kind of walked up and played.
So it was designed to pretty much insist that you guys play Mario Kart first.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they anticipated that if the whole thing was open, like if the Mario Kart section was open, that that line would have been insane. So I think they made the right call by controlling that environment first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had a ton of their staff on the Mario Kart sections. The Grand Prix section, someone was on hand kind of guiding us through because they wanted us to experience it in, like Miles said, in docked on the TV and then again in handheld. And then they were like, all right, now do whatever you'd like here. But then when we went to the knockout area, it was very cool. Every pair of TVs. So knockout tour, I don't want to, we can go into that a little bit, but I'll just high level talk about it. It's a 24 player for like their version of essentially a battle royale. It does 6 laps and it's all continuous, and every lap the bottom 4 or so get knocked off. And so you're just like, I just can't be in the last 4. I just can't be in the last 4. So you're just like, I gotta not lose essentially because it gets so chaotic. So the point I'm saying is the staff was behind every pair of people, like hyping and coaching. They're like, oh,
Dude,
you got this, bro.
They made it so much fun. It was great.
And when the laps ended, they're like, whoever lasted, they're like, yeah. And Jasmine was our hype person. Shout out to Jasmine. She killed it. She was hyping us both up. We were like, Miles and I, for the longest time, I got humble brag about us. Miles was for the most of it. I think you had it numerous times. You were in first.
You and I were neck and neck for a while.
We just kept swapping, shake and bake, baby, like Talladega Nights.
Slingshot maneuver.
We just kept switching off, taking the aggro. And I was like, hey, Temple of Geek got to get level blue here, got to get some wins. Yeah, exactly. Switch too.
Nice.
And Jasmine was just hyping us behind us, and it was super cool. So that to start the experience of what this whole thing was a great energy, liven you up. It's almost like, gaming events. This is something to take note of, I think, because you see other gaming events try to be like other types of venues where they try to hype a crowd up, and it's like it's a gaming crowd. You got to play a little bit differently to that. I thought this was a very smart, very in tune line with how people who want to play the Switch and want to play these games should be encouraged and excited.
Just real 100%. Quick, both for the audience and a little bit for myself to get to know you better, Kurosh.
Yeah.
What is your experience with in-person gaming events in general?
I've done a variety. I've done like Indiecade. I've done PAX a bunch. That's one of my favorites. I've done not SGF, but I've done like EA Play, BE3 on the last year they were doing it. Man, I love their open bar was one of the best. And that's another way to excite crowds because they got someone. I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but they got
as soon as you said open bar, Kurosh, Miles.
Yeah, it was genius because they had a few big games that year, but I remember at that time, Elder Scrolls Online wasn't the biggest thing of their pedigree of things people were looking for, and every announcement, they had us all having our drinks way before, and then they sit us in this theater, and this guy was just cheering for everything they had, and I was like, that was smart. They knew what they were doing. So, I've been to that. I've been to a few others. I've never
tangent real quick. Bethesda, this was before they were owned by Microsoft. Bethesda puts up the best events, period.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
They do some good stuff. So I've done those. I've never done E3, and we've done Game Awards a lot. So I've done a variety, but I haven't, like SGF is one I haven't done.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this
we're talking about lines real quick. Tell me about that experience, getting into Mario Kart.
It was very curated. We were only waiting for like 2-3 minutes. It was a great experience. Yeah.
There was never a line on anything longer than a minute. If we said, hey, we're looking to play Metroid, we just went to a Nintendo rep and they're like, we'll find you a spot. Give us a sec. And then someone would flag us, be like, yep, we got a spot right open and easy. Never an issue getting anything available to play. They made it a barrier of entry to anything super smooth.
Yeah.
Props to them.
Miles, was there anything to add real quick for you?
No. That's it. I'm excited to start talking about games.
Tell me about the next game you played.
Donkey Kong.
I think we beeline straight to Donkey Kong. Kurosh, why don't you take that away?
Yeah, Donkey Kong. We every game, just to preface, we both Miles would go first, then I would switch off, and we just
the other person would film.
Yeah, one person filming, one person playing.
So as far as me asking if you guys went your separate ways, never happened.
No.
No,
Perfect.
not really, not
Yeah.
really.
So Donkey Kong was where we went, and that was an interesting experience. We shared some of our deeper, like our full fledged thoughts on that one on the other video, but uh, I mostly just wanted, like, I didn't do too much on like what is this game going to be about or what is the level objectives or anything. I just wanted to see how good an open world Donkey Kong feels, the smashing, the digging, the running around, the traversal. That was all I really was like aiming to do. And on that part, it knocked it out of the park for me. Every punch felt satisfying, every slam felt great. It kind
Yeah.
of had a blend of like, can I do this? And then you start doing it. You're like, oh yeah, I
Oh
can do
yeah.
this. And you would test it. You would change this. And whenever something didn't work, they were like, oh, that's because the different material surfaces. It really plays with it being like a very, he's a miner. He's finally found a career similar to Mario and as a plumber. Donkey Kong is now in the construction industry.
He wears jeans.
Yeah, and um, but
I
they
think I'm finally at the part where I'm jealous because I want to see.
so there's various surfaces, and he's like, "Oh, you're just not using the right material against it. When you do, then it'll respond." So that became a bit of like a, "Oh, okay, let me try this rock against it," And I enjoyed. I just loved that. I was mashing buttons left and right, and every surface was reacting in a different way. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, it's always important to preface that vertical slices of the game are never indicative of what the entire experience will be. And we only played like 20 minutes,
Yeah,
but I wasn't as high on
Were
it.
you timed by the attendees or were you timed by the demo?
the demo.
The
Okay.
demo stopped after the timer, right? Yeah, because there was like a little button under the kiosk they would have to hit for each
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
station.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, like
yeah.
earlier, Miles, but if you remember, like Metaphor Refantasio, like if you're in the middle of a
Oh,
boss, they'll just stop you right there. So
oh, really? Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I wasn't as I'm sorry, I'm not as high on Donkey Kong Bonanza as I was when it was first launched after
Ooh,
having played it, because
I
and I you'll see later on in the week when our impressions drop, but um, I don't. It's kind of hard to explain. I was expecting more of like an adventure similar to kind of like more of a platforming puzzle type thing, kind of like Mario Odyssey or Donkey Kong 64, but it really is just run around, punch stuff, break stuff, find a banana, which was like that's not bad, but I was kind of just hoping for more. But again, we only played a very thin slice of this.
got it. You
Yeah,
mentioned find a banana. Is this the kind of game where it's a collectathon, or you want to find yourself from point A to point B?
I think it's a bit of both, right, Karosh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it kind of gave me I mean Odyssey's a comparison. Another one similar is 64 where you're in a map, you're in a set zone and um you run around that space and you could even reset the ground. That was one thing where it does a Metroid Prime-esque like 3D map zoom and you'd be like reset all the earth or the terrains so that it's not dug up.
Did
And wherever you
you ever
dig, you
find what the point in that was? Like, what would be the point in
I
reset?
I think if you ever, because there could be some points where there's like a verticality to
Oh, and
a
you have to
lot of the levels, and I really appreciate that. But if you are going ham on the digging, you can just destroy entire surfaces that you may need to platform onto.
right.
okay.
Um,
Was
and
there
so
any
from that
limitation
standpoint,
to what you can destroy?
What's that?
Was there any kind of limitation to what you can destroy?
Yes.
usually just the edges of the map or any just specific like, hey, this is a hard point that is a fixture or a bridge or something.
Okay.
It wasn't like a completely destructible map, but
Yeah.
most things that were dirt or some variation of it were destructible. But
The levels. Imagine Super Mario 64, where it's like kind of like a floating world where you're confined to that. That's kind of how the
yeah,
worlds are here. It's like an open zone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything to add, Miles?
I'm sorry. Actually, Kurosh, you were in the middle of something and I interrupted you.
Yeah,
Just
go
the
ahead.
collectibles. There were fossils to pick up. There were bananas to pick up, and there was like two or three other materials. I don't think we, again, being a smaller demo, we ever got an understanding of what those materials,
Okay,
each
so
of the
like
currencies
as far
go
as you know, there
towards.
was no meaning to any of those that you were looking for.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's going to be some sort of like shop or some
Yeah.
sort of collectible. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Just one more question on Donkey Kong. Kurosh kind of he kind of answered that, but like, what would what would you exactly compare it to? And the reason why I asked this is because a lot of people think
That's the
that
Mario
this is the
Odyssey game.
same team between Odyssey, and I want to see if you believe that.
I definitely feel like it had a lot of Odyssey DNA in it in terms of like, hey, here's a region, here's a space, and traverse it and do and redo it and do your own things with it. Um, I don't know again with the full fledged feel of it if it's like a subsect of the team, if they like maybe broke off and did this and have their own blend of things, but it definitely had some familiarity to me from what Odyssey had in his offering in terms of the way it looked and way it played for me.
How about you, Miles?
I don't think it's the Odyssey team because I think Odyssey 2
Ooh,
is the holiday game. But I mean, no.
you're
To
Better
helping me
not
out
be.
with
echo what,
reasons.
For
to echo
fans
what,
of critic, it better not be.
to echo what Kurosh said, yes, it definitely has the vibes. Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about the biggest games, which in my opinion are Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, and I'm sure you guys agree with that. I know like some of you played Cyberpunk. I know that there was GameCube there.
Well, you're
But
actually
There's one more you're missing.
you're
go ahead.
missing a big one. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We got
The
to play
reason
that
why
as
I didn't
well.
mention that is because I know it's coming on Switch One. That was intentional.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Okay.
yeah. That being said, it'll probably answer my question. What was like your highlight game of the show?
Mine was Metroid Prime 4. Until the end, we went back and played Mario Kart again. I was like, okay, it's Mario Kart.
I was going to ask if you went back to play a game. I'm sure it was
We
Mario Kart. So
we
cool.
went back for Mario Kart for sure.
We went back for Mario Kart, and we went back to a cup. I thought we went back to one or two others just to do the mouse thing.
We did play Dragon Drive a couple times. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a toss up for me. Yeah, Mario Kart is probably the one I love the most, and I can't wait to get my hands on the most. I'm glad it's a launch title.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime was a close second for me.
Yep.
Uh, that game felt good, looked good. Was
Beautiful.
I want to go back to that to that space in that world. The
The
Prime
mouse
world.
controls, we talk about it on our YouTube stuff, but the mouse controls were like weirdly good, very
Hold on.
responsive.
Mouse controls for Mario Kart?
No,
No,
no, no.
just
Okay.
Metroid.
at all actually. Just
Yeah, in
yeah.
general.
For okay, so we played 3 games using mouse controls. We played Metroid, Dragon Drive, and then Super Mario Party Jamboree. And you're holding up 4. The fourth one was
The one I hold the record.
right.
Welcome tour.
Welcome Tour. Yeah,
Miles, tried to trash the footage.
I
Miles
was
tried to
filming
trash the
his whole run, and then I was like, okay, it's been going for like 5 minutes. That's enough. And then as soon as I turned it off, he broke the record for the day. I was like, no, I turned off the
As
camera.
soon as Kurosh said broken record, I thought he was going to announce that Mario Kart, or not Mario Kart, that Monster Hunter Wilds would be coming to Switch too. Anyway,
No,
No way
the
that
only
game's
thing.
gonna run on Switch too.
And Welcome Tour, the only reason I say that one had the mouse stuff is because it's such a demo. It has a bunch of these mini games that are demos of all the features, so it has technically a mouse, kind of game, but it's not like an outright full game like Dragon Drive or like Mario Party, Jamboree TV,
Mhm.
and the other ones. But yeah, those are the 4 main ones that experienced it. I will say though, and it wasn't available there to demo, but there was a Cyberpunk dev there when we went and Miles was demoing that. Um, I was talking to them, and the biggest thing I was like, "What are you most excited about bringing it to this platform that you haven't like? You've done it everything else." Um, and the biggest thing that they were talking about was all the ways in which input is going to be a factor with what they're bringing to the Switch. They got the 2 Joy-Con, separate setup, which they really were excited about how that can play into motion controls. They're going to have like melee builds like manacles and all that stuff that is already in Cyberpunk. Doing that on the Switch 2 is going to be wild. Doing the mouse control with the Joy-Con, doing the docked and handheld, and then the Pro controller with the gyro controls. So
Yeah.
um, that we're talking about controllers. So that cyberpunk note with that dev, he was very cool, and he was just very, that was the thing that like lit up his eyes the most about what him and his team were doing with the Switch 2 version of this game. Because they're like, we've done so many other things with all the other variations. They've done portable, they've done high end, they've done low end. That's what that felt new to them coming here, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was a great interview style conversation. I really wish we filmed it, but I don't know if we would have been allowed to. But
Yeah, they had a PR guy come, just to like also add some thoughts, and I don't know if they were like, you're not trying to get any Wisher 4 info. I'm like, no, 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 don't worry about it.
I
I was
I
I
heard
was just
that and
like,
I was like,
but I was like, no, 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 I just want to hear, like, the guy was super stoked to talk about
yeah,
it. Very cool guy. So yeah, just on the mouse controls, that was the only other space where we, aside from the ones Miles mentioned, that we did.
Okay. You talked a little bit about Welcome Tour. Miles didn't talk too much about it, so I want you to go ahead and like talk about your thing there, and then I want you to talk about whether you think it's worth the $10,
I,
and then we'll go ahead and go to Kurosh
yeah.
to tell me whether it's worth the $10 himself.
In our impressions, you'll see I'm very vocal. This is not worth $5.
Whoa!
It should be a pre-downloaded pack-in title on the Switch. It's not a game. It's a tech demo. It's Astro's Playroom. It should be free. Kurosh said, "I'm paying the $10." So why don't you talk about it, Kurosh?
I said I agree with you fully. I don't think they
Yeah,
should
you
be.
did. You
I
did.
don't think they should be doing it. This is such an easy slam dunk to include with it, to give people. It teaches people, like, it actually educates them on frame rate. It actually educates
Yeah,
them
it
on
is a
how.
really cool thing. Yeah,
It's cool. It's not, why put this barrier for an extra $10? You're already, that's a nickel and dime. That's an abrasive, another barrier of entry to a thing that, like, I just feel like should just, yeah, I fully agree with you, Miles. It should be. Again, for me, I enjoyed it. It's a weird, like, it's a bunch of like, the mouse thing was just Minesweeper and like
right.
Astro,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
I liked it, so I'm like, okay,
And you got the high
I'm
score.
gonna put the $10 in. But I don't think that's a good business move, and I don't think it's gonna find the success it could have.
Yep, 100%.
Just for inside baseball, Miles probably did the same thing. I already requested, Welcome Tour for a Switch to review, and
I have not, but hey, look, if I get it for free, I will write a review about it.
yeah,
Sure.
if it doesn't come, like I don't know if I will get it, but at the same time, $10 means absolutely nothing to me. So I
Yeah.
know I am just drinking the Nintendo Kool Aid by doing that. But yeah, that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to Karosh here. Just to go ahead and out myself. I don't even know what ray tracing is, and apparently, the Welcome Tour does a good job at explaining a lot of these things. Whether it be HDR, the
Yeah,
advancement of 4K, and things like that. So
it's extremely helpful tool.
go
Yeah.
ahead and get granular with me about what they did to make people understand this even more.
Um, I mean, I don't know if they did one for ray tracing at all, but they did
Damn
it
it!
for
I
frame
still
rate.
don't
They did
understand what ray tracing is. I
I
googled
so
it. I don't understand what I'm reading.
they did most of the things based off of like the game mechanics or the mechanics of the controller. For instance, the haptic feedback one, they had it's a mix of the mouse feature as well as the haptic feedback in the controller, which is a lot fun. Like the way those two go hand in hand is very, like, it's a symbiotic relationship of like, you feel the tactility of it, of like, oh, this is responsive, I can tell it's
yeah,
tracking my motion, whether I'm doing the welcome tour or whether I'm doing drag and drive. But on the haptic one, there's a measure bar, and there's a hidden point on the measure bar that is going to give you the most haptic feedback, and your goal is to like slide the Joy-Con on the table left and right until the feedback is the strongest, and you're like right there, and it's like, oh, you were this much off. It's not really a game, but it's like, hey, this is how you can tell that feature or whatever. For the frame rate, I watched someone else play it. It was showing like a split screen of 60 frames and 120 frames, and it was doing like a little bit of a mini game there, for that one. And then for the mouse sensitivity, that was the one I got the record of, but that was the one where it's essentially like like a shmup of, you have a little spaceship and it's just spike balls flying everywhere, and you're just using the mouse to just weave as long as you can. So none of these are like really
Literally see
mind blowing.
Crush kicking our asses in that kind of that sort of thing. So
I mean, I did say
He
I
did get the highest score, to
on
be
that.
fair.
yeah, take that, Paris Lily. Anyway, yeah, like that's dope. Like since that game, like okay, would you say it does a good enough job at like showcasing what the hardware can do?
What for what it's trying to be, it is extremely successful. Yes, it does a great job, and it's so basically the whole game takes place on like a blown up Switch 2,
Yeah,
and and there's like multiple points where it's like it explains this is the A button, this is the up button, blah blah blah. But then there's actual like the actual stations for games. We only got to see those three, but I think he said there's going to be like
there's a
24.
bunch more.
Yeah, there's a lot. So we got a very small snippet. Yeah, it nails what it's trying to do. It's just not. Yeah, it's just not worth $10.
And then my last question on this experience, if you want to call it a game, do you see a Smash character coming out of it?
No,
No, there's not really. There's not really
There's no Wii Fit trainer.
there's no
anthropomorphized
trainer. There's no
figures. Yeah,
yeah. It's just little. It's not even a me, which I think is a missed
that's a
opportunity.
huge miss. Huge miss.
There's no Mario Kart Ow.
Do you
happening.
remember? Do you remember Hitman Go and Lara Croft Go?
Yes.
Like the way those characters look, they look like little just chess pieces. That's what they look like.
They're
Just
just
like
Okay.
mannequins.
You don't
Yeah.
think the person that you use ends up becoming somebody?
Okay. They gave us We Fit trainer, so I mean anything's possible. But I doubt it. I doubt it.
All right. Anyway, moving on. We know we talked about what the hardware can do. I want you guys to talk about the overall feel of what you guys were playing. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about the Switch and handheld mode. Like,
Okay.
did it feel like a more premium device? Did it feel like it was worth $450? How did the buttons feel? Did they click? Were they noisy? Let's go ahead and talk about the nitty gritty there.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess
Well,
I'll start. So I mentioned this in our breakdown today, where the Joy-Con 2 feel incredible. The buttons
Separated?
are yeah. So they're magnetic this time instead of sliding, and the way you release it is on the back. There's another button where you hit it and it just kind of pops out. Excuse me, guys. I am sick. Sorry.
The,
When they
the,
first
the
when they
Joy-Cons
first
go,
revealed it,
did they come out?
when they first revealed it, I thought it was going to be kind of flimsy and like not hold well, but it's very tight on there.
yeah, for Danreb, I'm going to kind of just try and show. This is like an Xbox controller, so it has a similar like it's got the bumper and a trigger. On the inside of the trigger, there was another button that you press, and when you press that, you have to fully press that sucker,
It's tough.
and then it finally pops it
Just-
off. Like it's
There's
not
no
like
way
a
you can accidentally just pop.
no. Like I did a video clip. It's in one of the B rolls for I think the first video that's out. But I kind of like I'm trying to like dangle it and shake it off, and
It's not going
it
anywhere.
held strong off
It's
of one
very
hand.
it's very impressive. Yeah, very impressive. Um, yeah, the buttons are snappy. They're not extremely loud click like the Series X controller, which, like I say in the video, feels like a Fisher Price toy. So if you have an Xbox, you should just get the Elite controller.
It's
Let me
always
just
Fisher
say that.
Price.
Yeah, dude. There you go. And just the way it feels too. It's just yes, it does feel a lot more premium. As well as the Pro controller feels very very nice. Crush thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I really like the feel of it. I play a lot. I play on my PlayStation Portal. I play on my Steam Deck. I play on my Switch. Um, the Switch, the way now comparing all these, the Switch is the one that I feel the most like just like that slide down just kind of has a little bit of a janky jiggle to it now over wear and tear use.
Yeah, exactly.
The current like seeing it and playing Mario Kart in that handheld mode really had a robust feeling to it. Really, it is a little bit more enlarged. It was similar in I think overall like outline and shape of a Steam Deck. Like it is a little bit larger. Granted, it's not as hefty as a Steam Deck. Steam Deck has a little bit more weight to it, which can be a good or bad thing, but that's I think a personal preference. The screen real estate was very nice. I very much I was bummed that there was an OLED, but it wasn't a deal breaker for me. For me, it is very similar for anyone that has tried or has a PlayStation Portal. That's also not OLED, and but it's a very vibrant, screen that it's got.
Mhm.
And I think this is very similar to that, if not a little bit of an improvement over that. I could hold those two hand in hand. What really makes it shine is going to be the games that can fully utilize the frame rates, the power, the everything are what going to be deal breakers. So it doesn't make every game look amazing. One example for me was because I know Miles, you were talking about Cyberpunk. I felt like, and we didn't see this in handheld, but just visually, I saw it. Hogwarts didn't look the greatest to me. Like it looked smooth, but it looked like very like on a lower end. Like okay, this is runs. It runs well. It just doesn't look great. Like I don't know if it was a
Really
performance versus quality mode.
grainy, really, yeah, like
Yeah. So, but whereas when I looked at Kirby, when I looked at Mario Kart, when I looked at Metro, just butter, like
beautiful,
absolute
vibrant.
amazing. So it is very much going to be like whoever can squeeze the most out of this hardware is really going to get something like it has the potential for it. It's
On that note,
Well
were
said,
there
well
any
said.
experiences you had that were actually um, 16120?
I think Mario Kart was at 120 from what we did on the Grand Prix at that setup.
Metroid probably was.
Yeah, Metroid as well. Metroid was at 120. Those two, man, they just
They're beautiful. We did not play the two remastered Zeldas. We kind
Got
of
it.
yeah.
yeah.
That being said, the next question was I wanted to move on to GameCube.
Yeah, please
The
do.
yeah,
Real quick on the hardware things. Sorry, just
yeah,
real quick. The
sure.
new kickstand. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Yes, yes. I had
it's
one more before GameCube, so go ahead.
okay, yeah. So yeah, the new kickstand's great. It's kind of like it takes the whole real estate of the tablet as opposed to the Switch one is that little dangly guy.
Yeah.
Everybody's broke except mine because I'm very careful with my stuff. But it's very like strong. I think it's made of metal this time, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just very sturdy. And instead of just being like propped up like that, it can go down at like almost
You can
flat,
almost lay it flat just at a slight
almost yeah.
angle. Yeah.
And so if you're playing on like a plane or something or on the train, like yeah, the new kickstand is great.
Pro controller, also agree with Miles. I think my biggest concern with any hardware really, and it's something that we didn't have a chance to experience there, is battery life. Like that is my only thing that I'm like, I have reservations or I will have like a mark against it, but in terms of performance, in terms of feel, in terms of everything else, knocked it out of the park. The paddles on this Pro controller, a lot of times with all these other ones, Xbox, PlayStation, all the scuffs, the paddles are always there and it's nice. But for me, not used to that, they can sometimes get in the way. And they can like, I might knock it or something like that. And um, with theirs, it's like built into the pad. Yeah, okay, there you go. It's built into the pad, and it's just like, oh, it's there. Okay, I'm gonna just press it, and it's responsive and everything. So, yeah, good stuff there.
When we played with the Pro controllers, they weren't mapped to anything, but they said you could just map it however you.
Yep.
Did
Moving
you
on to
use the
game.
paddles for anything?
What's that?
Did you use the paddles for anything?
No, they weren't available at that on any game. To what Miles saying, they are mappable though if we want
Okay.
to.
But you did hold the Pro controller, yes?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
it
How
feels
did
great.
the back pedals feel? Did they click? Did they feel like a premium item? Or?
I don't think they made like a loud click. They just kind of like went.
They were responsive.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were extremely responsive. They didn't go in super far like a trigger or anything. Yeah,
Okay, and they didn't feel like they were too far or too close to your
they didn't.
head.
They felt like they were in a good place, and they also did not feel like they were in the way. Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're gonna go ahead and move on to GameCube.
GameCube
Okay.
baby.
All right. Yeah. Tell me about what you played. We can go ahead and start with Miles. We can go into Kurosh.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah. What are your thoughts so far?
So this is another thing I kind of speak about at length in our impressions. But personally, I'm slightly a little salty that they're bringing GameCube to NSO. The reason for that is because just over the Switch's life cycle, they've been remastering GameCube games and selling them at $60 a pop, and so I feel like if you were gonna do GameCube NSO from a consumer perspective, do it earlier instead of making me buy full price games, whatever. I'm happy it's here. So the four launch games are Wind Waker, F Zero GX, Super Mario Strikers, and Soul Calibur 2 with Link, which is dope. I played Wind
We'll
Waker for
say
a
real
bit.
quick,
Yep,
3 out of the 4 games he mentioned are over MSRP. So these are a godsend for people who are
true.
trying to get back into those games.
Yeah, exactly. And like we're eventually going to be getting Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, which is like
Fire Emblem is 4 times MSRP. So
400 bucks.
yeah,
Uh, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness is probably like 200, but this
Yeah,
is great. It's great for preservation. So I started with Wind Waker. So it's the launch title from 2003 or four or whatever, and I kind of forgot how clunky that felt. I don't think the controls aged well,
really.
but it's still Wind Waker. It's still one of the greatest games ever made.
Real
Um,
quick, did you
and
play
it's
with a GameCube pad when they let you do that?
yes,
Okay,
Yes. We
cool.
did play with the GameCube controller. It has the new chat button, has the home button, and there's a new button above L, which is what you'll use to bring up the NSO
menu.
menu. Yeah. Um, New to NSO on GameCube. I don't know if the other apps have this, but you can apply CRT filters, and then there's speed run mode where you can play different regions versions of a game if you're trying to do a particular speed run. Uh, Kurosh played a lot more than I did. You played Strikers and Soul Calibur 2. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, the thing though that I wanted to hit on with Wind Waker that you pointed out that I didn't realize after the fact was that this is the original GameCube version. So
Mhm.
it kind of is like this weird, like, hey, the HD would have been cool because there were quality of life improvements on that one.
Yeah.
But for preservation purposes, I understand the purpose here. Strikers and Soul Calibur with the CRT toggled on hit
It
in
looked
such
really
a
good.
way that it took me back in time. I was it was amazing. I loved the way the CRT gave me old school vibes with everything. So big fan of it. Both of them restored very well. Felt like second nature. Jumping in with the controller. So
Yep.
cannot. I agree with you, Danreb, in terms of the preservation side of things. I like from that perspective solely. I'm like, this is their solution to it. I just lean fully into it, please. Like, if ever there's a time that warrants a remake or an HD remaster, go for it, but make it make sense. Like, I don't want to just like hey, we just up the visuals. Like, make it be like, hey, we've come back, we've revisited, we're doing something with it. But yeah,
That's why I was really hoping for Wind Waker HD on Switch to be real because
no,
the updated camera controls, the shortened Triforce quest, and the like faster sail like really helped that game a lot.
yeah.
That said, I know you really want the Wind Waker HD, but are there any wish list items for GameCube NSO? Real quick,
with
out of
with the CRT on. I mean, I kind of threw it at the guy there. I was like, "Smash! Can we get Smash? Can we get Smash on
Smash.
this?" Like,
not include Smash because we know that's going to be an option.
Yeah. Smash. I want Twilight Princess. I want Mario Kart Double Dash. What else is on GameCube, man? Yeah, I mean,
oh, give me. Was it Rogue Leader?
Rogue Leader would be sweet.
Yeah,
Wario World, you know.
yeah. Just let me
Yeah,
go back to it. Go. Let me revisit my childhood.
I
Star
really
Fox
think that
Assault. That game is like secretly very
underrated, but like not that great. But anyway,
good.
just to go ahead and put my piece in there.
Yep.
Eternal Darkness would be
Yeah. Oh,
huge.
100%.
So,
100%.
Silicon Knights is totally dead, but if Nintendo can find their way, that would be
Yeah.
utterly
I
fine.
wonder how they would tackle that with all like the meta stuff in there, like, oh, your memory card is out, or do they just kind of not?
I mean, like you can
I
say
mean,
the same thing with every Metal Gear remaster, right?
yeah,
So
true. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that'd be cool
yeah.
though. Yeah,
Um, anyway, so we talked about GameCube, we talked about the overall hardware, but I do want to go back into it. Let's go back into the mouse. I know
Okay.
that we talked a little bit about it on like the various games you played, but I did have one particular question, which you guys know about, like I play my video games with like my TV here, and I'm on my gaming chair, and there's nothing in between. Can I still use mouse mode like on my thighs, or what's up? Tell me about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we tried it out and we asked the reps, but also Drag and Drive, the prompts like in game said, yeah, do it. And then Kurosh did it and it ran well.
Yeah, I remember doing it for that one, and
Real quick,
yeah.
for your demos, were you sitting down at all, or were you standing up the entire time?
So
For Drag
depending
and
on the
Drive.
game, for Dragon Drive, they had a seat, and so I was trying it there. There was, I think it was the Mario Party one. There was a mini game where it was a lot of dragging, and we were standing for that one, and I was trying to play off of just my leg or my chest, and it works just as fine. And that's where I was saying the
It does?
haptic feedback,
Yeah.
like you could just be like, all right, spray paint, and then just like, yeah. But the haptic feedback for Dragon Drive especially was as you're rolling, like you would do the rolling motion on your leg or on the table. It kind of had like the way a mouse scroll wheel has that little like rigid like kind of like
Mm,
motion like feel on the hand.
okay.
I don't know how to quite describe it, but it's very like it
Like
has that
bumping.
response to it. Yeah,
Okay.
and you feel it for every like I was going slow. I was just like, oh, let me just move it one or two. And it's like tick 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 tick, and then I would do other times where I would just like let it rip,
Okay.
and it had the full effect. It had a pretty strong responsiveness to it.
Good to hear.
Granted, the thing here that they
NGP
did,
IGN folks said they had to be pretty aggressive with
I don't
that
think you had to
concept.
be very aggressive.
not too agree. You
Or-
don't have to. No, there was they in the Dragon Drive tutorial especially they show how to be like, hey, just zoom through, but also you could just do like long strides and like you get a lot of mileage out of it.
Gotcha.
But then the thing that I think is going to be the biggest thing is again, it still doesn't feel like a full feature. It feels still kind of like a bit of a gimmick that they're doing. And unless a game dev or a development team is really building a feature out for it specifically, I don't see it long term getting
yeah.
like the
Same.
wide usage it's being billed to get. Maybe down the road, it's like, oh, Mario's doing it or Zelda's doing it. But with kids, I'm like, one of the things you need is there's a little guard, kind of like the Switch Joy-Con grips. There's that one thing that gives it for the L and R on each Joy-Con.
Yeah.
There's a guard you put on that lets you like use it on a surface on a kind of a flat surface. So
I will say it did feel really good using the mouse controls on Metroid Prime 4. Like
yeah,
they came with a bit of a learning curve, but once you got it, it felt great. And then you can transition from that immediately to playing with like a regular controller, completely seamless. It was crazy.
it was
You mean
instantaneous.
like
Like
just go ahead and slot it back in, or?
no. In
You
terms of
just play
holding
them
Joy
separately,
Cons,
yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
But you just did it, and like you didn't have to pause. It was butter. Yeah, it was insane.
Awesome. That
Very
that
impressive.
actually led into my question. I was going to go back into Metroid
Mm.
Prime 4 talking about the control scheme.
Oh,
Miles
very good.
talked most about it. Kurosh, do you have anything to add there?
no, the just it was very impressive to that further that point of at any given point you could go from one Joy-Con and one mouse to just flick the wrist into Joy-Con, and it didn't skip a beat. It fully just understood the control scheme and pivoted
Yeah.
instantly. So I was very impressed by that. The biggest thing that I'm kind of unsure about, and I said it on the video that we highlight that game, is story beat wise, they've remastered. It's been many years since anyone has touched or played or known what's the story's been with the Metroid Prime series. And having remastered Prime, and not having remastered 2 and 3, I'm wondering if they're going to do something where it catches us up, or if they plan on having something maybe like because they still haven't announced the launch date for Prime
Mhm.
4. And I'm wondering how that plays into their strategy of launching Prime 4 either before or after the remasters of the other two games. I feel like they're there somewhere. It's just where, but that's I don't think that in the grand scheme of things is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
It's just a question on my head that comes up when I think of this game launching and coming out.
We
Okay.
we talked about this in our impressions, but I can see them bringing Prime 2 to NSO on GameCube, and then maybe they do Wii on NSO and do Prime 3 there because that's the only place it launched.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. we're getting towards the end.
Yeah.
I quickly lost my train of thought. One moment.
All good.
I
But
do want
yeah,
to just point out something that you might be interested in.
go ahead.
They had a Yakuza Zero definitive
Oh,
edition.
there we go. Now I remember.
Yes.
I remember. Well, so before we jump
Just
into
wanted
Yakuza,
to
all right, and this might be your answer. By all means, we
We
talked a
didn't
lot
play
about
it.
first-party games. Okay, we talked a lot about first-party games. Are there any third-party games that you believe really feel at home with the Switch 2? And if you want to say no, say no. But yeah,
Metaphor and Persona 3 Reload, if they don't come within the next year or two, I would be very shocked.
that wasn't really my question, but I appreciate the candor there.
I
Like,
thought,
Oh,
sorry,
like
what?
the ones that are
so
currently out, or
out
the
of the
ones that
third
are.
party games that were there at the show, if you did play them,
Oh,
do
I
any
gotcha.
of them feel like the Switch 2 is the ideal console to play them on? Because a lot of people
No.
are saying, yeah, like this game is like the Switch 2 could be better than PS4, but like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, right? So,
So Cyberpunk, the fact that it's on a Nintendo console is kind of a miracle. Other than like, I'm happy that they're like getting to experiment with different control schemes. But during my demo with it, I played it in dock. A lot of T posing. It looked nice. It was kind of stuttery, similar to like launch Cyberpunk. Excuse me. Um, Hogwarts didn't run well. We didn't play Civilization. We didn't play Street Fighter Six. Um, I I'm gonna answer and say no overall, but I it depends on the game.
I don't think anything at this showcase warranted where this is my preferred place to play
Yeah,
it. And I'm speaking from that. I think from a little bit of a place of privilege of when I want to play portably, I play Steam Deck, and I don't. And I know
yeah,
many don't. That's not a common thing. But if a Switch is your portable way to play, this could easily be for the consumer
right.
where that becomes their entry point, their way to play things portably. For me personally, I don't think that's going to be the case for the masses. I think it will be the case, and I
Yeah,
think it's great
exactly.
having the same place you're playing your all your Nintendo exclusives be the same place you can access Yakuza, be the same place you can play Civ 7, Cyberpunk, Street Fighter, and all these different games, and playing in some like in a playable state. It's not going to be the most high def state, but playing them in a way where it's like I'm getting the experience. I can like yeah, I think it's like if that's your one stop shop and be able to play it portably, that'll be a great answer for people.
Yeah,
So
okay. Now,
well said.
Kurosh, oh, so go ahead, Miles. Sorry.
Oh, I said well said.
Okay. Now, Kurosh, go ahead and talk about Yakuza 0.
well, while we were playing Cyberpunk, I saw Yakuza Zero.
Okay.
I know that you said that's a definitive spot to play it. I
Yep.
did learn the thing that I did learn about this definitive edition is two things I learned. One, this is I believe the first time that game is getting an English voice casting. That it didn't have
Not know
before.
that. That's awesome. Cool.
So this game is going to have that. The other thing I learned, and this is again is where I will choose where I play this because I will play this game. It is a timed exclusive on the Switch 2. So I think I'm more likely to play this on my Steam Deck and on my Steam platform. But I liked what I saw. It looked great. It ran great. It intrigued again after playing Pirates, which I'm still close to finishing. I'm eager to and after you and Lisa told me like that is like the good spot to like go through that beginning journey.
In Lisa,
I am
yeah.
very intrigued, and I'm like, hey, this is a great time. I'd love to get into that world and get into stuff. So those two things were very insightful and what I learned from it at the Switch experience.
Awesome.
I
Uh,
didn't play it.
last question before we wrap it up.
Yep.
Like, again, just focusing on the third parties, was there any game that felt like a highlight?
I mean, Miles, should we talk about the fact that we played Silk Song? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We got a
We did
super
not.
special. No, we didn't play Silk Song.
We did not play Silk Song.
You know, the engagement just went up and went back down.
Yeah, at the 59-minute mark, that's where the fans came in.
I don't
Final thoughts. Go
think.
ahead.
I mean, Kurosh makes a good point that if the Switch 2 is like your only avenue to get these third-party games, that absolutely it's a great place to play it. But I don't think any of these third-party games, especially the more demanding ones, are going to be the definitive experience. from what I saw walking by, Split Fiction looked to be running well, but it was also local co-op, so I don't think they had connection issues like we did. Um, we didn't play Street Fighter Six, but it looked like it ran well. I don't think we have enough of an informed opinion to really give a real answer to that question yet.
Yeah, I
Cool.
mean the things that I would want, I feel like is home here. It is going to be available on all platforms, but Silk Song will be is like they had a huge like people were introduced to that game on their Switches in most cases. Switch, as you said, Darren, on previous episodes, is where for many people for the longest time that was the indie place to play. Like play all
Yep,
your indie games here. That's changed for many people. And then the other game is that we didn't get, which was a Switch exclusive, is FromSoft's game, which I wish we
that was
see
not there
something.
yet.
But
Was it
that
there?
one, I think it wasn't there.
I wasn't there. Let me backpedal. Hades
Real quick,
2
was
was there.
Bravely there?
No, no. So,
Ooh, okay.
Bravely Default HD is a launch title, but it wasn't there. I was really hoping it would be. I was also really hoping Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were there because
Yeah,
it's getting significant upgrades on Switch 2. Um, Let me backpedal though,
Okay.
to answer your question. Hades 2 is a console exclusive at whenever it launches. That was there, and I didn't get to play it, and it felt great. That would be the answer to your question.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Love it.
I
Definitely Hades
confirm
2.
the
Yeah,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
I think we
that's
covered
pretty
it.
much it from me. Unless you think I missed anything aside from that, though, go
No,
ahead
I
and
think
give
we
me your
hit
final
everything.
thought.
Crush, why don't you start with final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I'm stoked for the Switch 2. I liked what we learned about it. It was very informative, very insightful. Seeing the wide breadth of games there, first party, third party, old school stuff getting updated treatment. For Kirby was one of them. You know, Zelda being
Yeah.
another. Um, overall great experience. My excitement for the Switch 2 remains. And yeah, I just give me a pre-order date.
Yep. Yes, pretty much feel the exact same way as Kurosh. After getting hands on with Mario Kart and Metroid, I am so excited. I can't. There's like a part of me that's kind of sad that like the Switch One era is done because it's become like one of my favorite consoles of all time. But yeah, no, it's still day one purchase for me, barring any world economy issues.
Shenanigans.
Yeah. The software we played, I'm not high on some stuff. I'm very high on others, but that's just the nature of games. Not everything is for everybody. Yeah, I'm still very excited for this. I can't wait.
Yeah, and like I mean, not really to close things off, but obviously we're getting towards the end here. We're getting over
Yep.
time.
Mhm.
I know the goal here was to get me jealous. I'm not really jealous that both Miles and Kurosh got to play the Switch. They both are really deserving people to do that. I am jealous just to give you some inside baseball. I run my own site, smashpad.com, and like out of every code that Nintendo has given me, I've given Miles like 75% of them. And I didn't get the invite. Granted, I wouldn't have gone, so
I don't
I
really.
feel
I'm still trying to work out how this happened. I have no idea how this happened, but I'm
like,
not complaining.
no, yeah, Eddie, I love you guys, but I'm like, I introduced you to him, so it's like, where's my invite?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know.
But anyway, no, like, no, I'm glad you guys got to try it. A lot of my questions were pretty much just about the overall feel of things, what we think of the launch lineup, whether you think it's still worth it, and we're in line there. I am fortunate enough to have a job and to be able to afford it, and I think 450 is very fair for the value of the
I agree.
hardware.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did not talk about the value of the software, but that was not the purpose of this podcast.
Yeah, that's a
So
different conversation for sure.
just to let you guys know there. But a lot of the common themes we talked about was the fact that if the Switch 2, sorry, is really your only point of entry, like in my opinion, and I'm sure Kurosh and Miles would agree, is the fact that I really think this launch lineup is probably one of the best in history, if not the best,
It is
just
very,
because
very good.
you're getting a new Mario Kart. Donkey Kong is a series that's been neglected for a long time. We'll go ahead and ignore the switch to I forgot the name of already. But you're getting Cyberpunk, you're getting like Hogwarts Legacy. Granted, whatever you think about J.K. Rowling, the game is a good game is good, and yeah, there's definitely a lot to be excied for. Deltarune wasn't there yet, guys, right?
No.
I don't believe that's launching day and date. I don't
No,
think
it
there was
is.
a. Oh, it is. Okay, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but it wasn't there.
Okay, yeah,
But
it was not there. It was not there.
we talked about it during the reactions with Deltarune. 3 and 4 are not out, so the fact that like it's coming out on launch is a huge deal. So
Yeah,
there's that. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting my hands on it on day one. Even though that'll probably be the day I head to LA to meet you guys for Summer Game
it's the
Fest.
day before Summer Game Fest. It's
Hey,
gonna be a busy week, but it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be very
if I'm
exciting.
waiting in the line, I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I'm
exactly.
playing Tears of the Kingdom for the first time, baby.
That is the perfect way to end this.
Wait. You
Oh
said you
no,
didn't beat it. You didn't say you never played it.
Okay, fine. I did. Yeah, I'll beat it for the first time.
Okay,
I'll
there
roll
we go.
credits for it in line.
Okay.
I
So,
wait, hold
have
on.
hours in it.
So-
I have hours in it.
I
do
don't
you
wanna
not
go-
know what the last boss fight is like? Like, have you seen anything?
It's not
Wow.
even the boss fight. Like for me, it's about all the cutscenes because they were very Ghibli. Prior
Well, the
to
last,
AI
yeah,
just
but
making
just
more
like the
people.
final boss fights are just.
I'm gonna now experience it in 120 frames.
Yeah. No,
4K.
I want to watch you when you do it. That's crazy.
Even though Miles is wrong and thinks like Alan Wake 2 was game of the year, like
I
Tears
mean,
of the
it
Kingdom
was.
had
It
insane.
was. You didn't play it. It's incredible.
All
Yeah,
right, we
Right?
wrap
Yeah.
this.
that's something I totally missed. That was pretty much it from me.
No,
Okay.
yeah. I think we touched on everything that we actually played. There was a lot more stuff there that we didn't. Just time and interest and just stuff. But yeah, that was our. That should be our final breakdown of the Nintendo Switch 2 experience here in Los Angeles that Kurosh and I got to attend a couple days ago on April 11th. Big shout out to Nintendo for the invite. Shout out to Nelia and Eddie from Golan. You guys are PR wizards. Thank you for everything that you all do.
And I'm sure they're not having a good time right now, but we wish you do.
They are so busy. They are so busy. They are working.
Yeah.
But we appreciate them. We appreciate Nintendo for having us. Yeah, until I guess SGF. Well, we're gonna have an episode in May. We haven't really worked out what yet, just because
Yeah.
everyone's.
I will talk about
up in the Switch
GDC on
too.
that episode, but I want to make this all about Switch too.
Sure. Yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching and or listening. Please excuse our handful of minor technical difficulties. I'm extremely sick, so I had to mute and cough. Danreb stuck in a hotel where he can't control his internet.
It's always him.
Until next time, thank you for listening to the Level 2 podcast. We will see you in a month.